Become a sponsor today by visiting patreon.com/psychologyis.
Some of the work I do, as I've shared with some people who follow this podcast, is that I work in a jail. And many people who are in the jail are have told me that they feel lost. They don't really know what they want in life. And what I find as I kind of just listen and ask the right questions and promote some reflection on what they value most and what their goals really are, what I find so consistently is that the very moment someone gains clarity about what their goals are and they really set a goal, they are instantly more satisfied in their life, even though they have not gotten any closer to that goal. But just having one, it does something to the present moment. It brings meaning, and it primes you to recognize opportunities that relate to that goal. And so
Yes.
it's just I think this is incredibly valuable. So what would you say? And I'm thinking, I played football, I wrestled, so I totally understand the difference between just exercising to stay in shape versus exercising because the season is starting in 1 month and I got to be ready to go. There's an intensity and there's a purposefulness to it that changes how I act. So what would you say when a person understands this, but doesn't know what that goal is and they can't seem to gain clarity around that? What do you think is helpful?
I was doing a consultation once back in California when I lived up in Marin. Um, and a man came to me and he put his cash on the table for the session, which that's what I usually did. I think people took it more serious. It's more real.
Mm.
And it was the first time I'd met him. And he sat down and I asked, "What would you like to accomplish?" He said, "Well, I don't know. I have no purpose. I have none at all." And I said, "Well, surely you have some purpose." And he said, "No, absolutely not. I don't." And I went, "Well, what if you suddenly had a 200 IQ? And what if you knew your purpose? What might it be?" I tried everything, but that didn't really do it for him. And so I had to use a bit of Zen trickery. And I stood up and I said, "Well, look, since you don't really have any particular goal, I really can't be much help. But it was very nice meeting you. I appreciate your showing up today and wish you well." And I shook his hand and kind of dismissed him. And he started to get up, but then he stopped and said, "Wait a minute, Dan, I just gave you a good deal of money here for this session. Now I have you for the next 90 minutes." And I said, "Gosh, I think you've just discovered a purpose." And I reminded him that after our session is over, you'll also have a purpose, which is to find your way back to your automobile and drive to wherever you're going without hitting any objects or people. And when you arrive at your destination, you'll notice another purpose appears. So I think he was looking for some cosmic certainty or sense of clarity that may not have been realistic.
Mm.
And so I think we all can focus on our purpose right now. Uh, and that's how I would respond.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I like that because I do think it's a little almost gimmicky and almost a way of kind of trying to monetize this idea of purpose when people promise others that they can help them define this goal that they can articulate clearly when life is much more mysterious than that. And I do think that what could be helpful, like I'll back up a little bit and just say, I know myself personally, I do have some pretty clear goals. Like I can articulate them clearly. I want to publish a book by this date. I want to grow this podcast. I want to secure a full-time psychology professor position. I have these really clear things. I want to, you know, raise my son into a good man. And sometimes it's not that clear. It's not something that can be put into words. And perhaps it could be helpful for people to hear that. I think clarifying what you value and then
Yes.
making it your goal to live out those values.
Yeah.
If it's your goal to live in a way that is guided by what you find to be truly important, or if you have moral principles and it is your goal to live them out and abide by them, that in itself is meaningful. That's very meaningful. And again, if Viktor Frankl was onto something, happiness will ensue by living out that meaningful purpose.
Yes. And I also worked in the prison system. Before I
Mm,
left California, I joined and went to San Quentin prison several times with the Insight Prison Project there.
mm,
These are inmates who self-select into a yoga and meditation program,
mm,
which gives a sense of purpose while they're there. And I do understand many inmates and people who are not inmates, people in everyday life, they don't know that they say, well, I'd like this. They have dreams, they have wishes, but they don't really see the step by step how to get from here to there. It's all vague. It's like they're walking in a dark forest and there's no path. And I think it can help also to give people a sense of step by step, break it down.
mm,
When I was a young athlete, we learned new moves on the trampoline by breaking them down to small steps.
yeah,
So I just came across in my files a process called the value clarification process, where they had listed about 10 pages of different core elements of life, and you put what's always important, sometimes important, and never important. And
mm,
that way you can help clarify your values. But that's a very left-brained approach, so to speak. Um, because how do you hold that all in your head to figure it out? Um, it really comes down to, what do you want? And that's such a key question um, in life. What do you want, and how do you know you don't already have it? And
mm,
uh, what's stopping you? So one can start with dreams, with visions, with hopes. If you were magic and could have anything, what would you go for?
mhm,
And eventually, we have to bring it out of the clouds. Um, I don't know whether it was Thoreau who said it's okay, or Emerson who said it's okay to build castles in the air, then build foundations under them. So
nice.
I think it's also knowing the steps between how to get there
Yes.